for joining. I think we've just had a fantastic meeting, of course, with the EVC and our guest, Mr. Chairman Mito from Airtel. Everyone in the room today is a Nigerian, so Airtel is not no stranger to you. It's the second largest mobile network operator in the country. And as you all know, this is a sector that is extremely critical to our economy, that contributes anywhere between 16 to 18% to our GDP, and is also growing as well. The real story of the digital economy in Nigeria is that it's not just a standalone sector, it's actually the enabler for progress in the country. And you've seen over the last about 18 months that the president has been extremely invested in driving the progress of this sector forward, whether it's in deepening the infrastructure that is required for these companies to be a lot more successful and sustainable, but also ensuring that the business environment is conducive for them, declaring telecommunications infrastructure as critical national infrastructure, supporting with the sustainability of the sector to ensure that they continue to add value to our economy, continue to create jobs, but also ensure that there's good returns for their stakeholders as well. So the conversation today has been about how do we help strengthen the telecommunications sector so that Airtel can continue to invest in that sector. That's what we'd like to see. We want to see a situation where at the minute telecommunication services is available to up to 92% of our people. This government would like to ensure that we take that to nearly 100%, at least 98%, if not 100%. And for that to happen, government recognize that the private sector is a major part of that journey. And that's why we're happy to have Airtel with us today in the country and at the state as well. Thank you very much. I think from my side, I'll be more than happy to take questions.
Friends from the media, it's a great privilege and honor for me to be once again here at the State House. I had the privilege, along with my senior team members, to call upon His Excellency President Tinubu. He was, like always, very warm and welcoming of investments from outside into Nigeria, and he recognized the good work that Airtel is doing here in this country. And we made a commitment to continue our work and put up more investments in fulfilling the dreams that he has for this country, both in the digital connectivity space, but importantly also in the financial inclusion space, where we have started to take some early steps by way of our payment bank license which we have here. Airtel is the world's second largest telecom company. It has nearly 600 million customers across 14 countries in Africa, in India, and South Asia. Bharti Enterprises has also taken very recently 25% stake in British Telecom, the iconic British telecom company. In that sense, we have become the single largest shareholder of British Telecom. And therefore, telecom is an area which Bharti Airtel understands extremely well. And we are very glad that we have had an opportunity to be one of the top two mobile and telecom operators in Nigeria. This is a very important country for Airtel. Amongst the 14 countries, this is the most high potential country, largest population for us. We believe that the people of Nigeria are very similar to the traits that we see in India. And what has been done in India in the digital space in the last 10 years under Prime Minister Modi can truly be replicated here under the able leadership of President Tinubu. There are moments in life when you get leadership like President Tinubu or Prime Minister Modi. They shape the destiny of the country by taking some very tough, hard decisions, but important and very, very valuable decisions for their country and their citizens. I think that's exactly where Nigeria is placed today. I feel very fortunate that we are here during the times of President Tinubu to give wings to his dreams by our own contribution in the digital and financial inclusion space. I'm here with my senior members of the team here. We also have with us our chairperson of Airtel Nigeria, Avuneba Ajinugobia. She's also the senior member of Airtel PLC, our FTSE 100 company in UK. She's a part of that board as well. And she'll also be here to answer any questions should that be required. But Dinesh Bal Singh, who's right on the ground here in Nigeria, is here with me, so are the other team members. So with that, let me just hand this over back to our coordinator. Thank you.
We've talked about it extensively. I think granted interview to some of the media houses represented here. Um, it took a while. When we came in as government, the request was already there for tariff increase. But this is a government that is extremely conscious of the state of the economy. And Mr. President consistently takes into consideration each and every citizen in this country before taking decisions. Some of these decisions are difficult. And what we say to people is our responsibility is to look after our citizens. But citizens includes both individuals and also businesses as well. Corporates are also corporate citizens that we have to ensure that when they invest, that we can continue to keep them afloat. This is a sector that, if you look at the entire sector itself, employs close to half a million people in this country, the entire sector, including the value chain. And for us, so it was quite a difficult decision, balancing the need to allow these businesses to be sustainable, to continue to stay afloat, but at the same time ensuring that each and every of our citizens can have access to telecommunication services. So we had to conduct a study to actually be able to determine what's the optimal allowance that we can give at the minute, which was what led to that 50%. That study was led by KPMG, and I think everyone in the sector had access to it, and that's why we're where we are. If we chose, that we weren't going to increase or allow the increase in tariff, we were at the risk of losing jobs, some of these companies packing up. And, when you weigh that, it's also not the best thing for the economy. And lastly on this topic is that the priority for this government is actually meaningful access, right? We don't want our people to just have access to telecommunication services. We want it to be meaningful. And by meaningful, it means the quality that you get is extremely important, which is why the NCC has been working quite thoroughly on this, ensuring that we're shifting the focus not just to quality of service, but to quality of experience, right? And that's the mandate we've given to the MNOs, to saying, now that you have the opportunity to increase, we know you still have the pain. We all need to pay attention to ensuring that quality is important. It's why the president declared their infrastructure as critical national infrastructure. It's why, as a country, we're investing in 90,000 kilometers of fiber to ensure that the entire country is covered. And it's also why the Executive Council a couple of weeks ago approved that the country will invest in additional 7,000 towers in rural areas, just so that we're not leaving everyone behind. Lastly, what I would say is that it's a journey. For us to get to a point where we truly give access to our people, where we have quality connectivity, it requires significant investment that we must encourage the private sector to continue to make, but also that government must also chime in as well to ensure that we get to where we want to be.
I think we've always been struggling with a lot of fiber cuts on account of construction, largely. And we are very thankful that the government has designated fiber as a critical national infrastructure. And through this, any fiber cut is subjected to penalties as well as imprisonment terms. So these are laid out in the bill. And since that has, we are working towards implementing it. We have about 900 to 950 fiber cuts a month, and we want to take that to half, at least now to start with. That's what we want to move forward in this direction. And I want to thank our EVC, who's created, along the minister, we've created with the Ministry of Works, Ministry of Telecom, MNOs, and the regulator. We've created a joint group who's going into specific aspects of how do we formalize these penalties and how do we start tracking the daily cuts that are happening. And we see a lot of information exchange that has happened, and we are slowly progressing towards fast-paced reduction on the fiber cuts. At this point in time, we're still having some problems, but we are hopeful that the engagement is moving in the direction of what the bill deserves, has designated to achieve. So I think that's where we are.
Inevitably, had to come up and must be properly answered. Let me first say that, situation has been generally tough. We all know that the inflation has taken away almost the entire cost structure up by multiple folds, whether it's diesel or electricity, rentals, salaries, transportation, importation of capital goods are almost just like India. Is no different here in Nigeria. The entire telecom network is imported. And it's had a heavy toll on all the companies, but in particular telecom companies. But we are long-term operators. We are not seasonal operators. We know our businesses are decadal businesses. We have been here for 15 years now. This is our 15th year here since the time we came here. Even during the last very difficult 2 years, we did not take a foot off the pedal on investments. $200 million has been spent last year. $200 million is being spent when we close March this year, which will be the year 24-25, and more investment is going to come in the next year. So investments are an article of faith, and we are also aware of how telecom works. If you do not invest in time, you fall so far back that you never recover. Even in India, in very difficult times, we kept on putting up capex, fiber, towers, radios, 3G, 4G, 5G, and that's exactly what we are doing here. We are committed to continue to invest regardless of where the health of the company is. That is one track. But equally, it is very important that you have sustainable digital highways. You cannot have compromised, financially compromised digital highways. Telecom companies have very high investments globally. It's just not in Nigeria. 25% of their revenue goes towards new capex. Technology changes very fast. Cycles have been so fast and furious, 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G. We are already talking about 6G, and we have not even got $1 out of our 5G investments. I mean, a lot of money has been spent on spectrum, capex. Same in India. I mean, it's no different. So we are committed to make big investments. Telecom companies need to be financially healthy. Does 50% do the job? The answer is it covers part of the hit that we have had. Just to give you a sense, before the currency devaluation, Airtel Nigeria's revenue was at a particular level. I think it will take us 2 more years to get back to that level and put up a lot more investment. So you can imagine the pain is there. Would more increases of tariffs be required? We'll be working along with the government, with our stakeholders to see how we continue to work on this path. We're also conscious that you can only put up so much load into the market at one time. So this is going to be a calibrated approach as Nigeria's economy moves up, which the GDP figures came out this morning are looking better. I think we will be able to slowly use the inflationary effect on our company into the market. But right now, we are fine with 50%. We wanted much more, but we are fine with it and we'll move forward. How much will we invest? So we will invest at least $250 million on our radio network. Then there is fiber. Then there is a data center coming up in which we are investing $140 million. And then we have requested for more spectrum, which will also require several $100 million of investment. So overall, we have invested billions of dollars in the last 14 years now. This trend will continue. Amongst our African allocation of nearly $1 billion of capex, Nigeria takes most of it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Long years now, nearly 15 years, our focus has been education and skilling. And we had to choose one area. I mean, a lot of large corporates have demands on their, resources to do many things. And sometimes you can diffuse your efforts by doing 10 different projects. We decided that if we can educate a child or skill a person, the multiplier effect for any society is acute. So we started 15 years back with a primary school program in India, where the focus was girl child, free education, midday meal, computer in the school, uniforms, and we created nearly a large ecosystem of over 100,000 school children going into various villages in India, and that program still continues. We have then stepped it up with scholarships in universities. That program of Satya Bharati Scholar has also started in a big way. And today, I can share with you, I was very pleased to hand over a letter inviting 10 Nigerian students for a full degree, both undergrad and postgrad degrees in engineering in top institutions in India every year. And we would expect the Nigerian government to be choosing and selecting those 10 students to send to India. UNICEF, again, works in this particular area. We were working with them to provide, various resources from our networks with monies, messaging to the appropriate set of customers to create the UNICEF program's awareness in Africa. The 3 million technical education program, again, we are making a contribution. That's a commitment to be a part of that. And we believe that just like India and many other countries, including in Africa, if we can divert some attention into the area of skilling and education, I think we'll contribute to the society in a very meaningful way.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The last one. That's the fourth one.
And it's not because I am today here in Nigeria, I'm saying this. Nigeria is the most important part of our Africa strategy. In fact, the entire Africa rests on the back of Nigeria for Airtel. It was, prior to the devaluation and crisis, at nearly 40-45% of our Africa business. It's come down a lot to 22-21%. We are hoping to, as I mentioned earlier to the lady from Bloomberg, in the next 2.5 years to at least come back to that level with more investments and more work here in the country. We have to be very successful in Nigeria to have a real standing in Africa. Nigeria is important to us, personally important to me. I watch over one country other than India, personally myself, that is Nigeria. I come back here from time to time, and it's in our intention to make Nigeria at par with what we are seeing in India in terms of digital innovation, digital connectivity, and financial inclusion. I can assure all of you here today that we come here with as a force for good for this country, and you will continue to see us being a very, very responsible corporate citizen contributing to the well-being of this country.
Thank you very much.
Minister, thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairman.
Thank you for the honor.